Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Dr. Ibrahim Fahda, and I'm delighted to have you here today. The webinar is planned for 1 hour, and it's being recorded. For housekeeping, just before we start, no mic or camera is allowed today. But if you have anything to really share, just use the chat area to share any question or anything you want to deliver to me. Time will be tight, so I don't think I will be able to answer a question if you put a question, but maybe you can reach out after the webinar if you have anything you want to continue discussion. The content is very compact, so we have 1 hour, but the content is quite a lot to cover. So I will try to cover as much as I can. But again, if you have anything to follow up, you can always reach to me. I hope today's webinar will give you a head start in the topic we'll cover today. A little bit about me. I hold a PhD degree in civil engineering with focus on computing. I have been working in BIM and software development for over 15 years. For the last 3+ years, I led the BIM development for building permitting at Dubai Municipality. I also delivered many workshops and training on BIM, Open BIM, and digital permitting. I am now a digital consultant, helping municipality companies, individuals adopt BIM and develop their own digital services using modern technology. You can always check my LinkedIn profile if you need to know more about the services I provide. Why this webinar? There are two folds for this webinar, why I prepared this webinar. First, for business, to connect with you, share knowledge, and open door for collaborations in the scope of the services I provide. The other reason is part of my mission is to make BIM more accessible to every consultant interested in digital transformation. Who is this webinar for? It's targeting mainly the permit applicants submitting BIM models for building permits at Dubai Municipality to comply with the BIM standard. But also it can be useful for anyone interested to learn about BIMcollab ZOOM main features to open and view IFC file. The prerequisites for this webinar, what you need to know to be to find this webinar useful is to know what is IFC models, that it's data plus geometry stored in IFC files. If you don't know what IFC, then maybe this webinar is not for you. But if you're familiar with the idea of IFC or BIM, then you might find this webinar useful. Now, the agenda for today, pretty much most of the session or the webinar will be demos. The first part is covering the BIMcollab ZOOM main features, the interface, how you navigate open IFC files. The second part will build on the first part, is showing you how you do visual inspection on IFC file before you submit to Dubai Municipality for BIM permit. On the first part, I just need to say a few words on BIMcollab ZOOM. BIMcollab ZOOM is IFC viewer. You can download. There is two versions of the software. There is a free one and a commercial one. The commercial one offers extra features that is not available in the free version. But for the purpose of today's webinar, the free version is sufficient. And even if you want to review BIM model for Dubai Municipality, I find that free version is okay. There is no specific reason why I chose BIMcollab ZOOM. So if you have other viewers or any other IFC viewer you are familiar with, you can again use it. The reason why I chose BIMcollab ZOOM because it's the one I'm familiar with. I find it quite useful and handy. And the BIM support team in Dubai Municipality also using this software when they try to inspect the model visually on desktop offline. The features we will cover today, we cover the interface, how to open file, close file, navigation, visualization, creating BCF issues, BIM collaboration format issues, and smart views, which basically is filters, creating filters. This is the first part. On the second part, we will build on the first part using the software to show some checklist of the things that are required by Dubai Municipality when you submit, such as file naming, file structure, the schema, the level naming, the hosting, the information, all within the BIMcollab Zoom. This is only covering the visual inspection. The requirements per Dubai Municipality, also there is the data requirements, which I don't know if some of you may be already familiar with the QA/QC app that you can download to check the information. But today we'll focus on the geometry and the visualization part. If time allows, I will just briefly talk about how to make the inspection more intuitive and easier. I developed an app, a simple app, that quite useful. It takes your original IFC file, merge the QA/QC issues that you produce from the QA/QC app itself, and merge extra information to produce enriched IFC file that created based on the original files. I'll try to show you how this is very useful to speed up the inspection process. It makes it much easier. I hope time will allow to cover this topic. Enough said on the topic or the slide part. Let's move to the first part, talking about the BIMcollab Zoom main features. Now, I already installed the software. You can download the software, register, and then you receive a key. Once you logged in, you will be by default using the free version. I think you're allowed to use the trial version for a month, but after that, it becomes free version. So this is the main interface. Let me hide this bar if I can. Okay. The main interface quite straightforward, simple. You have at the top typically menu bar, and then you have the shortcut for the command. The toolbars give you a shortcut for the most of the command on the menu. Then you have the navigation area to navigate the model, and in the middle here you have the view, the 3D view of the model. Let's try to open the sample file for today. So what I prepared for demoing the BIMcollab Zoom is the sample you can download from Build in Dubai. It's a sample prepared by Dubai Municipality for one of the sample models. So I downloaded the IFC file. You can also download the Revit file. So after you download the file, you can just drag and drop to open the combined file. So once you open them, you'll see the file appeared in the navigation area. Each file is separate, and you see the federated model in the middle. Of course, as traditionally, you can always use the file menu to open or close files, but maybe it's easier if you drag and drop. And let's cover the navigation area, this panel area here. The most common tab you're going to use is the navigation tab. Basically, this gives you the structure of the files you are working on. So you can see each file hierarchy, and this is the default setup, the hierarchy, and that's in here. So this is a model tree. For every file, you have the project. So you see the project, the IFC project, and you have the IFC site, and then the building, And under the building, you have the stories or levels. This is for the architectural file. In this case, is the architectural model. Similarly, for the structural part, again, the same concept. In some cases, if you want to see the navigation or the model grouped by type, not by hierarchy, you can switch to the tree type. This is useful. We'll see later when you talk about the visual inspection. So for the type tree, it will combine everything in the all the models you uploaded. It will combine them in their own types. So you'll have the beams, the column, the walls, etc. So this is again useful if you want to see the model as types. So this is the navigation. Under each node, basically, you can click on any element and you see the properties associated, properties and attributes associated for the selected element. So in this case, I selected this door, and I can see here the all property set that comes with this or related to this door. You can choose the sets that you want to, let's say, investigate and read the properties under and inspect the information. Sometimes not all these sets can fit on this screen, so you have this button here to see or choose any other property set is not feasible to you. So this is the left side. You can always expand if needed. In the middle, as I said, you have the 3D view combined. This is a federated model combining the architecture and the structure. You can click on the left side of the mouse and rotate around a point. You can zoom using the middle button on the mouse. If you click the middle button and keep pressing, you can pan the view. You can have perspective view or ortho mode. We'll show you how the ortho mode can be useful when you look at the 2D or elevation view. You can also zoom to extend. Let's say accidentally you zoomed far, you want to zoom back to fit, you can click zoom to fit. If you want to zoom to area, you can just select an area, zoom to area. Again, if you have an element selected, you want to zoom to that specific selected element or elements, you can zoom to it. You have here a useful kind of views, top, bottom, left, right, so on, or taking a perpendicular view on an element, then in that case, you can view it as elevation, especially if the orientation of the model is not so great. This is for the navigation part of the software. The data is here, the model in the model. Let's now move to the visualization part, how to utilize the software to control what you see and apply action on what you see. I will tell you about the a nice features in the software. I don't know if it exists in other views. It's called My View, which basically is like a basket. You can put in it selected element and become like stored in the memory. And it allows you to keep it there and apply action to it and restore it whenever is needed. The My View menu is on the menu bar, but also you have the shortcuts or the buttons available on the toolbars. Now let's assume I need to take a specific story or level and make it as my view, mean filter it and just to store it in that basket I just said. Just before I show that, notice here in the middle, sorry, in the bottom, it says my view 0, mean there is nothing in my basket yet. So it's empty. My view is empty. Now, if I go to the hierarchy or the tree, I can make a selection. The selection, by the way, can be any way you like. You can control on the keyboard, select some element, or just select a floor. When you do your selection, you can just click on this button. It's called set selection as my view, which means take every selected element or the selection, current selection, and put it in that basket. So anything in the basket already will be thrown away, and this selection will become the permanent or the current selection. So now I have this story or every element under the story floor 2 or level 2 is selected, and you can see everything else is grayed out. That means it's the active selection. And if you look at the lower part here, you can see that I have 645 elements in my basket now, and this is the floor. In this case, is the floor level 2. If you restore the model, you can see back the whole model, but if you notice down there, I still have my selection in the memory. So I have it still preserved for me. How to restore it? I just click on this button, and then I restore my view. I will show you why this is quite useful and handy when you come to the visual inspection for permitting submission. It's quite handy feature. Now, let's say you change your mind, you need to add to my view. And instead of starting the process over again, you can just select the things you need to add to the basket. In this case, let's try to add the structural parts to the architectural view. I can click on the add selection to my view, and now I combined the architectural and the structural model for the level 2 in one basket or one filter. And you see this my view here, it's the number is increased. You can always remove. If you say change your mind, you want to remove, you can always click remove. You don't have to remove back the whole level. In this case, you can choose to remove, let's say, wall from the basket. So now I remove the wall. So now my view changed to become level 2 architectural and structural, except walls from the structural model. This is on the my view. Let me add back the walls. And now we move to talk about the auto floor plan. There is a nice feature, again, sometimes if you try to review your model, not a 3D, 2D, the software has a feature called automatic floor plan. If you click on it, it will automatically show you the space names on the projection of the 3D view. So in this case, if I zoom in, I can make sense of what this space for, and so on for the other. It's maybe sometimes useful if you show it and then turn to ortho, and then you can have sort of 2D view. By default, spaces are hidden. In this case, if you want to show the spaces, you click on spaces. And now I have the spaces shown. If I click on any space here, I can see the properties of that space. Sometimes it takes a bit click to show it. So I have the space information in here. As you can see, it's in this case, it's open office. And what you see on the projection here, it says open office. So it's type the long name and combined with the type as zone area 2. You can always switch it off and toggle back on and off. I find this quite useful if you want to see the distribution of space usages on the the floor. Sometimes also useful to see if you have any space missing. This is, again, when we talk about inspection later on, it's good for you to see when you export if you missed adding any space on any part of the floor. Now let's restore back the view and clear my view. In this case, I came back to the initial state. So I don't have any my view and restored everything back to the state where I opened the file. Next is the sections. If you like to take sections in the building, sometimes, again, this is useful if you want to inspect the model. You can use the sectioning menu. The quickest and easiest way is to create a section box. You can create individual sections if you like by clicking on create plane. But if you say you need a quick sectioning, you can click on create box, section box, and then you present it with a box surrounding the whole building. If you click on any face, you see the color changed. Then if you drag that plane up and down, you can take section. Let me turn the auto off so I don't see the projection. Now, if I take another plane, so now I took a section in the building from different direction. Let's say you're satisfied with this as a section, but you want to hide the section box, it's obscuring the view for you, then you can just say hide section plane, and you have it without showing the box. And if you want to toggle between the full view and the section view, you can again suspend the section plane. This is you back to the whole model, but the section arrangement you prepared is still preserved. You can always restore by clicking suspend section plane. This on the sectioning, you might find it useful, as I said, in some cases. Now let's restore back to the whole model. We're still talking about visualization, in navigating the 3D view, seeing it from different angles and so on. Now, one thing sometimes needed in BIM 3D models is dimensioning. We always have these advantages in CAD. You have this advantage that you have details. In the 3D models, we don't have it by default, but luckily there are tools provided to measure or take measurement on the live model itself. You don't have it to be drawn by hand. And this is what I'm going to show next, is the annotation, how to add annotation and take dimensioning on the model. One thing maybe I should say here, that any dimension or annotation you add, it won't be saved in the IFC file. The IFC file will stay the same. It doesn't matter what you do with the model here. It's just a viewer. So annotation and dimensioning are temporary things you add to the model just to do the job you're trying to carry out. Maybe instead of showing the annotation on the whole model, let's take a 2D, set it as my view. Let's show the plan here, and let's hide the spaces for better view. Let's say I'm looking at this, and I found a problem. I need to share it with someone, or maybe I take screenshots, but I need to add some details. I can use the annotation area or annotation commands. You can put a cloud. I'm not going to go through all of this because it's easy. Meaning by playing with the software, you can figure out this, but just to give you a head start, as I said. So let's say adding a cloud. You can add a cloud somewhere. You can change the color. You can change the thickness of the font. Next, you can add a text if you want. So you can say issue here. Of course, I think in this case, if I oriented the level as a projection, it would be seen as 2D. So there's no problem with that. You can change the size. You can move it. And you add so on. You can carry on adding annotation, but just be aware that once you restore or you delete the annotation, everything you did will be gone. It's not preserved as my view or anything else as other features in the software. You can preserve the selection. Here, if you delete, it's gone, or if you restore, this are also gone. This is for the annotation. As I said, there's plenty of option to try on your own. For dimensioning, you have this simple, really quite simple, straightforward menu. To demo the dimension features, best maybe to select a simple element and just zoom to it so it's clearer to you the command. I will select, let's say, this door and make it as my view. Let's delete the annotation and hide the auto plan. So it's quite simple now, like this. Now, for dimensioning, you start the action by clicking on dimension, and then you have this kind of icon or waiting for selection cursor. So as you see, I can zoom in. So if you have this square, this indicate that I'm selecting a plane. If you have it like a kind of a line with the, or you see this red line, I'm selecting an edge. If you hover over a corner, you see the X, that means I'm starting my dimensioning from a point. So you have three options, from starting from a plane, from an edge, or from a point. So let's say I start from this plane to this plane. Okay. Made the selection and added the dimension. So this, in this case, I selected from a plane or a face to another face. You may wonder why it put it as perpendicular, even though I chose from a point to, let's say, a point here, but keep it as perpendicular. And that's the default behavior. So by default, even if you make selection between 2 points, you always have the default distance measured as perpendicular on the faces. You can force it to go from the point to the point you selected by clicking on the shift on the keyboard. Let's rotate. In this case, just telling the software, just obey my selection, my point selection from the point, 2 points I selected. You can select from a point to edge, edge to point, or combination from between the start and the end. You don't have to start face to face. It could be face to point and so on. Let's try from point to point, from this point to this point down there. So again, you see the measurement added. So you can add measurement for different reasons, then take a screenshots if needed, or in some cases, you can, after you create this, you can create, this is next topic basically, but it's related to taking dimensioning and add annotation, is exporting these issues. Usually, typically, we use dimensioning and annotation to highlight some issues in the model. So let's say you did add a dimension or annotation on the model showing some problem. This, for example, the dimension of this door is not correct, or it's a narrow door, whatever. And you need to share this with the modeling team or the other discipline. Typically, well, I mean, if it's something quick, you can take a screenshots and then send it in an email or putting it in the system as a ticket or whatever system you are using. But if we stay in the theme of using OpenBIM, as you may know, there is the IFC. This is for storing the model, but also you have other open standard like IDS and BCF. BCF is BIM collaboration format. Basically, it allows different parties to exchange issues in the model in a standard way. So luckily, BIMcollab ZOOM support the free version. support this by default, or it's allowed, it's open, is accessible from the issues menu. Once you set up your view and ready to create the issue, you just switch to issues and then create an issue. So you need to define the issues here, issue with the door. You fill other information, some details, and you specify what components included in the issue. By default, it's good to keep it visible, the visible elements. And you see it will automatically take a screenshots of the issue. I just may need to say here that be aware that the dimension itself or any annotation you add, it won't be stored in the BCF information, just on the screenshots. So when you import the BCF in the third party, let's say from Revit, you will see the elements selected, that in this case, the door. You'll see the orientation of the view, also that will be imported, but the annotation, it will only be shown on the screenshots. And that's obvious why, the reason why, because it's not part of the original model. There is no ID for this annotation. And the two software communicate by knowing the entities IDs. Anyway, in this case, you save this, you have now the issue, you can create multiple issues, and then you can export or save this as BCF. If you save it as BCF, now if I go to the desktop, it's in here, saved, and you can just send it to the other party and they can import it if they have the BCF manager or the tool to import. Just to quickly maybe say this is just a zip file. So if you are confused what is stored inside, it's just a zip file. You change the extension and you have now some files here describing the issue, but one of these is these screenshots. So it will be stored in the zip file or BCF file. Last thing on BIMcollab ZOOM is a nice feature which I like is the smart views. Basically, they are filters based on certain rules you define, but what is good about it that you can save them locally on your disk and reuse them in any other models. They are not only for this model. So under the smart view, the software comes with the default samples. You can review them and see how they created. Basically, as I said, they are filter storing rules to filter the model. It's stored locally. You can share with your colleagues if you want and apply them to any other model you open in the future. Let's go for one of the example here that come with the software is fire rating classification. If you click on it, it will automatically, this is a pre-built created filter. You will see the model colored based on the fire rating. As if I zoom here, you see those are the rating. So it scanned the whole model, find those elements that have a fire rating attribute or property, and group them based on the value and gave them an auto color. If I edit this, you can always edit this smart view from the right click, and you'll see what rules is defined to create this view or smart view. In this case, it's quite straightforward. It says any element has a fire rating attributes exist. I want you to add it to the model. I mean to the 3D view here. Next action is, again, repeat for any model, fire rating is defined. I need to give you auto color. And by applying this, it will automatically execute this rule in sequence. So you need to be careful putting this rule in the right sequence. Otherwise, sometimes get messy. So you need to follow the order because it's executed from top to bottom. When you have this, then you click, if you are in the testing mode, you click on this button, it will execute the command. You can explore with other smart views here to learn about them, what they do. One thing also useful is, as I said, using my view is quite handy. So in this case, I applied my view by clicking on it. Let's restore and show you what I mean. If I click again, it applied on the whole model. Or you can go the long way, right click and click show. It will do it the same way. There is the feature to apply smart views on my view, not on the whole model. This is come handy, especially if you examining part of the model, not all the whole model. To do it, basically, you just need to select my view, define my view. In this case, I selected the level 2. Once you have it, simply right-click on the view, smart view, and say or choose show or execute for my view. And in this case, it executed the filter or the rules, but not on the whole model, only on the selected elements under my view. This is again quite useful when we talk about inspection for DM, Dubai Municipality. This is the first part. We took a bit of time on that, but I hope now when we move to the second part, things become easier or clearer for you to follow along. I will restore now the view back, clear my view, and that's kind of the end of the first part. If we go back to the demo, now we'll move to the second part, cover the inspection, visual inspection for IFC file for DM submission. But again, hopefully now you'll follow up easily because I will just repeat what I said in the context of submitting to Dubai Municipality. I will not add any new knowledge or features explained already on BIMcollab ZOOM. It's just saying, show you how to use them in the context of submission to Dubai Municipality. Now let's start over, assuming starting over. I will assume that I'm BIM modeler. I have this same model you can download again from Dubai, built in Dubai website. It comes with the sample. So you have the IFC file, sorry, the Revit file. Let's say I'm done with the modeling. I did everything, the modeling as per standard. Then I go and export to IFC file, right? I have the viewer here. I don't have the full version, so I have the viewer mode, but you know what I mean, is going to the IFC export, choose the setting, you follow the guidelines by Dubai Municipality by providing or setting the correct property set mapping files, and you'll be ready to export. Once you export, you should end up with 2 files, one for the architectural, one for the structural. The first thing is to give the files the names as per the standard. In this case, I follow the standard or the sample you download already following the standard. Once you have that, you are ready to go back to BIMcollab ZOOM, assuming now you became a user of the software. As I showed earlier, you know how to use it, you navigate the model. You drag and drop the file and open them. First thing to check, now I'm assuming now I'm doing pre-flight checking on my BIM model before I upload to the Dubai Municipality platform. This is an offline check. So first thing I check that I have the hierarchy correct. So I have the project, I have the site here, I have the building, and I have the levels. One thing I noticed before when I was in the municipality that sometimes you end up with 2 sites. So some people export the model in 2 sites. You should have exactly this hierarchy. Project, 1 site, 1 building, and under that you have the floor or the levels. Once you check the hierarchy for each file, you need to check the levels. Make sure that you only export the level that is required by DM. So sometimes in the Revit model, you could have extra levels, reference level you need in your model. You can have those unexported, if we say, by unticking the option of the export. So in this way, you only export the levels that require. So you can ignore, or the exporter will ignore the models that you untick, or you forcefully say or choose not to export. Now, the levels should be in right order. So you have the basement first, then road level, gate, and then the ground, and then subsequently all the following up levels. What is important to make sure that the level prefix is correct. Anything comes after the score tolerated, but the level, the prefix is very important. Okay, that's on the checking the levels. Next is checking the schema. You need to check that you export the IFC files using the IFC4 schema. Any other schema currently not recommended by DM, so you need to make sure it's 4, and not only one file. You need to check every file is the right schema or the same schema. It cannot be different schema. That will be an issue. After that, especially if you have large IFC files, that indicate if you find out, if you go to the file and after you zip them, you have a large file more than 150, and especially if you have a small model, medium model, that indicate you accidentally exported a lot of unneeded element. We call them proxy element. To clarify or to check if you accidentally did this, you can come to the viewer here and switch to type tree. This is quite a handy way to quickly see if you accidentally exported elements under proxy elements. So for example, the kitchen sink, or the toilet, or the chair, or the tree, all of these elements are not needed when you export to the IFC requirement for BIM submission in Dubai Municipality. So if you see here proxy elements, that indicate that, especially if there's a lot of them, you can quickly filter them and see how many of them. In this case, I'm just using the Windows as an example, but let's say proxy element. If you have a lot of them and you see they are things should not be exported, then you go back to Revit model and make sure you follow the guidelines by Dubai Municipality, because if you follow that guideline, you are certainly be fine not exporting those extra elements, and that will lead to small file size and less processing time when you upload to Dubai Municipality. Other things you can check geolocation. If you select the site and go location, if you see this kind of coordinate, this indicates that the location is set in Dubai, and most likely you have the geolocation set up correctly. But for 100% check on the geolocation, best if you upload the model to the Dubai Municipality online platform and check it's within the parcel boundary. But the offline check, as you see on the screen, is just indication that your geolocation setup in Revit model is okay. Now, if we move to the visual part, let's say you exported a model, you need to make sure that it's visually correct. You don't have any extra flying object. It happens sometimes where, especially in bad modeling, you have flying object everywhere. So just make sure it's decent 3D view, represent the correct visualization. And then you need to check that hosting of the elements is bare correct level. What I mean by that, you don't have element in second floor hosted in the third floor, or using different levels for hosting. Another thing is for elements like wall and column, they should not be carried from bottom to top. it has to be split. They have to be split in their own levels. The only exception, maybe cladding, can be tolerated by the team reviewing the BIM model, but for everything else, like walls and columns, they should be split per their own level. So how to check the hosting? You have two options. If you submit many models to municipality, then you can create smart views and just filter floor by floor. So smart view for floor 1, 2, and 3, and then you just execute them to filter those floors one by one and check them. But let's say you occasionally do submit to Dubai Municipality. The easiest way is just selecting the levels and set as my view. And in this case, it's nicely if I add the structural model, you can see all the elements are hosted in their levels. There's nothing is flying up there or below there, and the walls and the column are split per level. So that's the correct setup. Once you see your, let's say, wall up or down, then you need to go back to the Revit model and correct that. Or if you see the walls going all the way from the ground to the top story, again, that indication you have something wrong with the hosting. So again, if I choose another one, let's jump between them. See, it's all looking nice. So this is kind of the visual checking on the 3D whole model and filtering one by one to make sure the hosting is correct. The last thing is the information. So now we pretty much okay with the inspection. You're confident that you covered everything from the hierarchy, the level naming, the level order, the correct levels exported, the geolocation, the hosting, okay per level. At this point, you are okay to stop here. You don't need to inspect the information, because for the information you can use the app from the Dubai Municipality called QAQC app that generate this kind of Excel sheet. So we talk about now information inspection. That will be maybe covered some other time, but just to quickly to say that for the information you can use the QAQC app that produce all the issues in the model. One thing useful or the viewer useful if you want to see visually where is the problem in the model that is reported in the Excel here. So if it doesn't let me, okay, let me try again. So I will try to, you see, I have this file, QAQC file generated from for the same model, and it has critical issues. So if I try to, for some reason I cannot see the, let me try again. Let me shut it down and open it again. Just doesn't let me, the mouse is not responding. So the file will be generated if you use QAQC app. Okay, now I can make selection. So one thing useful sometimes if you want to, it doesn't let me again. Let me try. Okay, I will try do it here now. So if you select the ID of the element, all right, you copy it, so you can visually find this element if you want to see it where it's located in the building. You can see it visually. In this case, I think we need to switch the spaces on to see it. So those are the elements that have the problem. So sometimes, if you know the ID from the QAQC results, you can come to BIMcollab ZOOM, stick the ID here, and then you can find the exact space causing problem and inspect the model or the information of that element to make sure what's going on. So you go through the building permit, and maybe I should have said building permit, this is a custom property set provided by the settings. So when you export from Revit, many of these property sets are standard, especially the one start with BSET or the quality one. But if you see building permit, that means you correctly exported the model. But if you want to inspect the information in case of you have some critical issues, you can copy the ID from the report here to the interface and see it visually. So as I said, usually most of the time you don't need this unless you fail to resolve the issue in the Excel sheet by identifying the object directly in the Revit model. So this is on the other part, visual inspection of the models using BIMcollab ZOOM. This is the main points. Time doesn't allow maybe to go in depth for everything, unfortunately. So we'll try to stop on this point here and quickly show you the enrich model. I have them already created. If I navigate to them, I think here. So as I said, there is an app I developed where it takes the original model, bake into it the QA/QC results, and the e-checking and everything you need to do a full visual inspection in one place. So in this case, what I can quickly show you is if I select one of the spaces, you can see here an added property set by the application. It created extra property set and extra attribute and properties are created from the original model. So there's nothing like added externally. It's all from aggregated data. What does this help for is I have some smart view created based on those generated extra attributes. So quickly, I can see which spaces in the model has issues. If I click here, all the models in the building green, that means all the information provided. If I click on any of these spaces has any issues, if I click here, I quickly find which space or spaces in red are incomplete or have some critical issues. If I select any of these spaces, I go to the enhanced property set called QA/QC. It copy or include the same issues that is in the Excel sheet. So the enhancement took all those issues, baked them into the IFC file to generate enrich, easy to review models. So this smart view is quite straightforward. All I said here, just for any element, if it has any critical issues, true. Maybe it should be the other way around, but if it has an issue, it should be red. And if there's no critical issue, should be green. So if I switch them this way, this should be the correct way. Now, if I execute, that's the right way to see it. And as I said, these attributes are created from the original model. The app is not available on Dubai Municipality. It's just something I work on to make the review submission for permit applicants and easy things. If you're interested, you can always reach out to discuss this. But again, you're sufficient not to need this. As I showed you in the second part, you are okay to use the free version of BIMcollab ZOOM with the original file to do confident checks on your BIM model without need any extra tools. It might take you extra time, but beyond that, you'll be fine. So we have like 4 minutes to conclude. Before we conclude our webinar, I just quick notes on things I can help with. As I said, I'm a consultant, digital solution consultant. I can help with BIM submission, BIM adoption. Originally, also, I'm software developer. I have years of software development, custom software development, and also training, as you know, seen today, deliver workshop training internally on BIM, Open BIM, and related topics. You can always reach out for one-to-one consultation if you are a company. Recently, I put on LinkedIn a workshop, is upcoming workshop. It's related to using AI for BIM software developers. This workshop will give hands-on experience for those who knows have some programming skills. So if you are a .NET developers using C# and you develop your custom tools in the company and interested to add some AI capabilities to the software, this workshop will be for you. So what I'll cover there, how to create application to do knowledge search using AI, BForm, function calling, building a Revit plugin to use human natural language to execute command, installing local LLM, and many other things related to the widening your experience in using AI, not as end user, but as a developers. You can visit the LinkedIn post. I put some description there. If you're interested, you can drop me a message on the post and I will reach out to send you the details. The workshop will be, again, as I said, for developers. So it will be, all the demos will be hosted on the GitHub. So at the end of the workshop, you have access to the source code and you can follow up. If you have any follow-up question, I'll be supporting you. But again, if you're interested in any discussion for training or any other services, please reach out and I'm happy to help. Okay, so if I go back to the webinar. The mouse is stuck. Okay. So that's it really for today. Thank you for joining the webinar. I hope you find it useful and practical. If you have any idea for future webinars or something to share with me, you can drop it in the chat. If you prefer, you can reach out on LinkedIn. I'm really happy that you joined me today in this webinar. If you'd like to connect and continue the conversation, please, I'm always available on LinkedIn to reach out. Thank you all. I hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much. Bye.